The other day I saw a video on my Shorts feed, and it's the subject of today's video.
You got D, A, E, A, D. So it's almost like there's a mirror down the middle.
That is, of course, Jacob Collier on Paul David's YouTube show, talking about what I've been calling his mirror tuning, which is a really, really cool way of looking at the guitar on his 5-string guitar, his brand new 5-string guitar, which he attributes that to having 5 fingers, 5 strings, which I'm kind of intrigued by. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, and by the way, I'm Kyle Orla, if you haven't, we generally talk about old folk guitar players from the past, and weirdly enough, knowing all they know about these old styles, Jacob's new tuning is surprisingly similar to a very old banjo tuning. While Jacob's music is vastly different than the old blues and folk stuff we generally talk about on this channel, I think it's perfectly fitting to talk about this guitar and his tuning because there's some very fascinating stuff about it. Also, on a personal note, I did get some tremendous joy in watching Paul Davids teach Jacob Collier Travis picking.
Do you know the Merle Travis pick or Travis picking?
No, I don't know about that, no. Oh, that's lovely.
We'll see you on the Patreon, Jacob. It's got that Travis picking bug now, I know it. So in this video, we'll talk about Jacob Collier's new guitar and tuning, how cool it is, but also, it's not perfect. A couple of problems there might be with it. We're gonna also talk about how to adapt it to the 6-string guitar, and lastly, how it relates to this really cool old banjo tuning, and how to kind of use that on your guitar. Anyway, it's gonna be a good vid. Also, if we're talking about Jacob Collier, I'm gonna be wearing my glasses today so I look a little smarter. Now, if you're here just for old blues, his music is not going to be your cup of joe. But there's no denying he is a very inspiring musical person, and there's a lot to glean from his approach, and one of the cool things he came up with recently is this 5-string guitar. 5 fingers, 5 strings. Let's check it out. So this is Jacob Collier's signature Taylor guitar. Of course, it's a 5-string guitar, but the cool thing about it is the neck is the same as a 6-string guitar, which is great for fingerstyle guitar. I mean, to have that extra bit of spacing, I think is ideal. And one of the custom tunings for this guitar is D, A, E, A, D. 5th below, 4ths above. Now you can kind of think of it like the top strings of a violin in the bass against the bottom strings of a guitar in the treble. I wouldn't overthink it. I don't have one of these in the shop, but in a second, I'm going to show you how to adapt it to your 6-string guitar. Now, it is good. I'm going to tell you. It is really good, but it isn't perfect. There's some faults with it, too, when you're trying to combine these two things together. Let's talk about this. This is what I'm calling Jacob's mirror tuning.
Best thing about this guitar that I realized like way too late, you would have thought I would have realized it sooner, is that this string is a mirror. So all the voicings that are on this side also work on this side.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
So it's such a cool concept where everything you do on one side of the guitar literally flips in a mirror image over to the other side of the guitar. So if you have a simple chord like this, and you want to make its next inversion, you just flip your finger over to the next string and you literally have it. It's such a cool idea. Now it is amazing, but it's at a cost. You know, Jacob kind of touts this guitar tuning for having very simple major chord shapes, which is true if you're playing them against the open drone strings. If you want to actually just make them closed position shapes, these shapes might rival any bar chord you'd learn in standard tuning.
And if you bar this guitar as well, one of my favorite things, it's so easy to do major chord because that's major, right? So it's just, and you can always.
Now, someone who's taught, I don't know, literally hundreds of beginners, I'm not really convinced this is a great option to get into playing chords across the neck. You know, it's great. What you can do with it is great, and it's something to, you know, shoot for. You know, an achievement, a goal, a landmark, a place to go for, but it's not a place to start. Of course, you know, weighing the good and the bad, I still think it's more good than bad. You're going to find great sounds, and most open tunings, the point of it is to explore, you know, open tunings with the whole drone thing. You know, it's kind of that's the appeal. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but, you know, I just want to mention that. But before I can make, you know, my own opinion about this, or you can make yours, let's try to retune this guitar, kind of replicate that tuning and see if it's even possible, and then kind of explore the options of this cool 5th against 4th mirror tuning. So the tuning again is D, A, E, A, D. Fifths in the bass. You got some fourths in the treble. We got to take this thing down to D. All right, then we got to take this thing. We don't have to do anything with it. It's still A. Then we have to take this to E, which I don't really want to do that. You know, it's a whole step up. And then we got another A. And then we got another D. Did I do that right? D, A, E, A, D. So that's what it would sound like. Open. But that would be really hard on your guitar, especially if you didn't have like custom strings, right? I don't recommend doing that. Please don't do that to your guitar. I have an alternative for you. Check this out. We're still gonna have fifths in the bass and fourths in the treble, but let's take this thing down. Let's take it down a whole step. So what you can do is take this down to C. Take it down to C, which sounds really good. And then a fifth from C is G. Depending on your guitar scale length, this may or may not be a little flabby, but don't worry, I have a solution. Now a fifth from G is D. Oh, we already have a D. Nice. Okay, that's our fifths. Sounds really good. Now we're gonna go to fourths. So a fourth from D is G. You already have a G string. How's that for cool? All right, and then a fourth from G is C. So we have to adjust that up a half step. That's not a big deal in the B string. You can go up a half step. A whole step would be a lot to take it to D the way Jacob's tuning is. I wouldn't recommend that. You probably really should just buy Jacob's guitar if you want that exact tuning. Either way. But what we can do, we just got our capo. And now we can literally play in the key that Jacob plays in. We're there. Oh, it's so pretty. I mean, there's no denying that that is heartbreakingly gorgeous. Now we're just moving up in major and minor thirds, but the shapes look different because we're in fifths now. It's another thing to kind of check out is this shape inverts. So that shape in standard guitar tuning is kind of a dissonant shape. It's called a tritone. But if you were to play it like this, you have that fourth shape that you already know. That makes sense? So this is the shape, if you're a guitar player, that you already know. And that's the power of this tuning, is you can flip from the fifth brain to the fourth brain, and it's the same chord. They're both the same chord. So you can take stuff like this and just move that finger there. And you have automatic inversions. Now so far I've just been ignoring the first string, which you could do. You could keep doing that. Don't even look at it. Or you could use it as is. It doesn't sound bad. I'd make an argument for tuning it to E if you're in this capo world, right? Tune it to the same string as this one. And I'll show you why. So you take the second fret and bring it down, whether you're, tuned with the capo or without. It's the same as the second fret, right? And when you do that, this chord, you can just ring it open. It sounds awesome. Nothing wrong with that, right? You can do the same kind of things. You could invert it. Perfect. It drones just like the other ones drone. Or you can use Jacob's logic of anything you do on one of these strings has another place on another string if it has the same name, right? And so we've got anything we do on this string, which is the third fret, we can play on the third fret of the first string, right? Fifth fret on this string, now it's the fifth fret on this string. And that is amazing. Has a 12-string quality almost. And all those little tabs you've been seeing at the bottom of your screen there, that's actually from a PDF over at my Patreon page for free members. It's free. You can download it, kind of explore some basic simple Jacob sounds and have fun with it. But stick around because we're gonna explore some sounds from like this old 5-string banjo tradition. It's really cool. My favorite part of this whole thing. While this was objectively beautiful to me and felt like a new way of exploring the guitar, what's more interesting to me is how it relates to a very old way of playing the banjo. Now, there's an old banjo tuning called sawmill. It's also sometimes called modal, which relates to what Jacob was calling neutral when he talked about this tuning, because there's no third, there's no defining third to give it a major or a minor quality. It's neutral, right? Now it's major if I do that. Now it's minor if I do this. But it's neutral of that. There's no one way over the next as far as if it's major or minor, which is a really fun thing about this tuning. This banjo tuning is the same. These top 4 strings, when you add this string from the 6-string tuning, only when you do it with what we created a second ago, it's the same as this modal tuning. And again, not major nor minor. I guess it's a sus chord. And depending on what region you're checking out from this banjo tradition, guitar players may play it with minor chords, these very same tunes, or they may play them with major chords. So where my mind goes is, can you play these old tunes in this tuning and maybe adapt it to the fingerstyle guitar idiom? Well, the answer is yes, and it works weirdly well. And one of the first tunes you learn, in the sawmill tuning, that modal tuning, is called Cluck Old Hen. I got the whole thing tabbed out with a slow play along over on the Patreon. You can learn it there, but for now, check this out. This is Cluck Old Hen. So yet another example of there's nothing new in the world, is there? Just different ways of doing the exact same thing. And if you want to check out another cool tuning, check out my lesson with Charlie Parr and his partial capo. Of course, get the tab and the slow play along, and we'll see you where we do.